Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Keeping Fish Simple. So in today's video, we're going to be doing the first episode of my How to Breed Bettas series. Now, in today's video, we're going to be focusing on setting up the tanks, getting a spawn, and then in the next two videos, I think the second video is going to be hatching the eggs, and the third episode is going to be raising the young. So in today's video, we're going to be getting a spawn, we're going to be getting a pair, we're also going to be setting up the tank. So basically, Bettas are a super easy fish to breed. I'm pretty new to it. I've done it once and I've got one batch of fry, which I'm going to show you in a second, but hopefully you guys learn a lot from this video series, and without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so now here are my first fries. So this is the first spawn of Bettas that I've done ever. Basically in here there's like maybe 100 of these guys, so you can see right there in the middle of the screen is a little tiny baby Betta. Now these guys are bred from some parents, which I'm going to show you in a second, but these were my first attempt and I was successful, and there's just a bunch of these little guys in here. So these guys are all eating some infusoria and stuff like that, and basically just throughout here there's just a ton of these guys. So you can see there's just very minimal airflow in this tank. There's actually hardly any, and there's just a little bit to break up the surface, but there's another little fry there right in the middle of the screen. And yeah, they're super cute. So these guys are about a week old and they're almost onto the stage where they can start having some baby brine shrimp. But here is Dad. Now Dad is hiding underneath that piece of driftwood. He's a bit of a shy guy, but I haven't named him yet, but he's a longfin koi. So Dad's under there. I'll show you him again in a second, but here's Mum. Now Mum is super pretty. She's ready to go again, and in fact, here's Dad again. These guys have been in these two tanks, and there's no divider in between these tanks, so they've been flaring at each other a ton. This guy and that female I just showed you before are going to be the pair that we're going to use today. So we're actually going to do two pairs today. We're going to do him wherever she's gone with her, and we're also going to be doing this female and this male up the back here, which you can't see very well. He is a blueberry koi, I think. I'm not too sure. Blueberry koi male, I think, and another blueberry koi female. So these guys are super fun. They've got tons of color, tons of personality, and I've just fallen in love with Bettas literally in the last week and a half since I've been keeping them and breeding them. But we're going to be focusing mainly on the ones in the other tanks over there. So we'll be focusing on these two throughout the series, and I'll be giving updates on these guys throughout. But let's talk about the setup. So basically, if you guys are watching this video, I'm just assuming that you guys already know how to care for the Betta. These guys are super easy to take care of. They're also called the fighting fish, Siamese fighting fish. You guys already know that stuff. Basically, these guys are a labyrinth fish, so that means they can actually breathe air from the surface. So they've got a labyrinth organ. They're kind of like gouramis and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. These guys don't need an air pump or a bubbler in their tank. They can basically breathe from the air. So the Bettas we're going to be talking about in this video is going to be targeted basically at the Betta splendens, which is most of your common types of Bettas. So just be sure that maybe this method will work with other ones, but I'm not entirely sure. This is just going to be for Betta splendens. So any of your Betta splendens are going to be perfect to use these methods for breeding. Now here's the tank that we're going to be using today. Now this is just one of my 20-gallon 2-footer tanks. I've got a ton of these guys in my fish room. You can see I've got 45 of them. So we're just going to be using 2 of these today, 1 for each pair. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've drained half the tank. Now I'm just using normal tap water. I've actually mixed a little bit of RO water in here, so the pH is about 7.2 and the TDS is very low. It's very soft water, so nothing too crazy. You don't need to do RO. You can normally get away with tap water. These guys aren't too fussy at all, but I've just gone ahead and lowered that TDS just a little bit, just for my personal preferences. Now if you've kept Bettas before, you would know that they are super territorial. So you can see right there my male. If he's with another male or a female for too long, he can become a problem and they'll attack each other and kill each other, and that's just how the species is. So the way we have to breed these is a little bit complicated compared to other fish, where you just put a pair in and kind of condition them and hope that they start to spawn. These guys, you have to separate them but keep them together at the same time, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a container like this. Now this is just one of your basic homeware containers. This is just for like food and stuff like that, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the aquarium with some water inside there and put the female in here, and then the male's going to be out in the aquarium, and she'll be able to see him, but they won't be able to touch each other through the box. So what's going to happen is they're going to be able to see each other. He's going to build a bubble nest underneath this piece of styrofoam which I've got. He's going to build his little bubble nest, which is really cool to see, and I can't wait to show you guys that. He'll build that under there, like somewhere in the tank, wherever I put that, and then basically she's going to we're going to feed her up really well and condition her, and she's just going to get filled up with eggs. And when we can see that little breeding tube come out, which I'll show you later on in the video, we'll release her in the morning, they'll spawn, and then in the afternoon we can take her out and we can leave the male in there with the eggs. So that's basically it for how to breed these guys. Now I guess all we're going to have to do is put it to practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the tank and I'm going to explain it after I've set it up. And there's the setup, so you guys can see he's already flaring at her. You can see those like gills coming out. I don't know what that's called. I don't know the scientific wording or proper wording for any of this stuff, but you can see right there his front face just flaring up at her, and she's kind of into it as well. So that's really, really promising. Now what's going to happen is you guys can see this aquarium's been set up. So what I've done is at the front here we have some Java moss. We've put the container in, we've filled it up, and we've put the female in there. We've got a heater up the back, which is very important. That's at 30 degrees. So we want it to be very, very hot in here because we want to make it very humid. Because what's going to happen is when he builds that bubble nest, we want the bubbles to not pop. So the humidity really does help with that. So having it at about 30 degrees Celsius or like 84 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit is really, really good for these guys. Now you can see I've also, sorry for all the brightness, but I've got the lid on here. Now this is going to fog up like this other one here, and it's going to become really, really humid over the next day or even like the next couple of hours as this fills up. And he's going to start building his bubble nest under here. So I've had the styro. You can also use like a little foam cup, or you can use some floating plants and stuff like that. And he's going to build his bubble nest hopefully under here so we can get a real good look at everything he does. But we've done that. We've also added this Indian almond leaf. Now this isn't completely necessary, but I'd highly recommend adding some form of leaf litter, either Indian almond leaves or oak leaves, to the aquarium to add some tannin. Because what that leaf is going to do is he might spawn under it, he might set up a bubble nest under there, which I highly doubt because I think it'll sink. But what it's going to do is it's going to release a ton of tannin into the water, and that's going to make the pH drop in here, and he's going to think that it's time to breed in the lakes that they normally go in and breed in, and little ponds and stuff like that. And he's going to think it's time to breed, and so is she. When she gets out, she's going to feel all those tannins and the pH drop. The other thing too is that's going to start to decompose in here, and what that's going to create is a ton of infusoria. So that's why we've added this Java moss, because I don't like to play around too much with infusoria because it can become a little bit complicated. Especially when we have these big aquariums, we can really utilize the amount of space in here to create a ton of infusoria before the eggs hatch. So what else we're going to do is we're also going to dry out some duckweed after the eggs are laid, so it can start to rot, and then the fry can start to eat the infusoria that start to eat the decomposing duckweed. And also you guys might be wondering what's these sponges. Inside of these sponges are a ton of blackworms. So I just got these out of my blackworm culturing kit, and I put one in her little box, which you can barely see behind there. We've got one in the main tank, so they can nibble at them all day. I'm also going to feed some pellets. I'm going to feed a little bit of frozen bloodworms and just fatten these guys up really, really well to condition them. And hopefully she's going to start to fill up with eggs like she already kind of is. And he'll build that bubble nest, and then we can release them. So that's going to be it for pretty much day one. We've got to wait for him to start doing the bubble nest, and then I'll meet up with you guys again. But you can see right there just the amazing color on these two. They look really, really good, and he's just super, super excited to be in here with her, and so is she. So really, really fun fish to keep and breed, and really fascinating as well. I love fish that do all these cool bubble nests and stuff like that. It's just absolutely blows my mind that we can have stuff like this happen inside of an aquarium, inside of our house. So hopefully these guys get the idea, and the blueberry ones over down the other end get the idea as well. And I'll see you guys when they've got bubble nests. Alright, so it's been a few more days now, and you guys can see it's actually been, I think, maybe 48 hours, and our longfin koi male Betta here is showing a lot of breeding behavior, and so is she. She seems very, very keen on him, as you can see in the back there. But if we look underneath the styrofoam, he's started to build his little bubble nest. Now you can see it's just there up the top. He's not the best bubble nest builder, but it does do the job, so he's doing all right. But if we go over to our other tank, you can see that our blueberry koi male betta is a much better bubble nest builder than our other betta. So he's got one right here, and then he's also started to build one up the back corner here. So there's one up the back here, which he's done a little bit of a better job on. So they're both ready to breed now. What we're going to be looking for is on the female, there's a little tiny breeding tube thing called it's called an ovipositor. That's the word. That's the one I was looking for. An ovipositor is usually called a papilla on, I think, fish that lay eggs on vertical surfaces. I'm honestly not too sure, but on bettas it's called a ovipositor. Now we're waiting for that to come out, and that will indicate to us that the female is ready to start laying some eggs. So our female's in there still. She's been eating a ton of frozen bloodworms, and we've also been feeding her some pellets, and then our male here has had the exact same diet. Here's such a beautiful fish. He's had the exact same diet, and they're both ready to go. So it looks like our breeding tube on this female is ready to go, and also in the other tank it seems like they're ready to go. So tomorrow morning I'm going to release both of the females, and I'm going to leave them in here for about 8 hours with the male, and I'm going to see, like, we'll pretty much know right away whether they're going to breed or not. And if she's not ready to breed, we'll put her back in here and we'll wait another couple of days and then release her again. But I think we're going to have some breeding tomorrow morning. So I'll get back to you guys in the morning, but like I said, you're going to really want to look for that breeding tube on the female. It's going to be underneath her, and tomorrow they'll be extruding even more, I'm thinking. So pretty keen to see what happens tomorrow. Okay, so it's the next day, and now it's about 12 o'clock. I think it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm going to release these guys with their females for the rest of the day. Now, I'm pretty hopeful for these guys. So these are the blueberry bettas. Regardless, I'm pretty confident that these guys are going to breed today, because he's built his bubble nest and he's definitely ready to go, and I think she's ready to go. So we'll see when we release them in a moment what's going to happen. But I'm quite a lot less hopeful over here, because this male, this is our longfin koi, he has been a bit slack and he is not doing a good job keeping his bubble nest. So the female looks to be pretty keen. Not as keen as the other female in the other tank, but we're going to still release them and see, because sometimes she can help him and encourage him to build a bubble nest. So let's release them. We've got very positive signs here. She's underneath the bubble nest and he's kind of keen on it. We're going to see what happens here, because you never know with these guys. I mean, fish breeding in general, you never really know what's going to happen. So we might not have success, we might have success. You got to kind of just like wait it out and see. Alright, so it's been like another 10 to 20 minutes, and yeah, not much is happening, so it's not looking too promising. I'm going to probably take away the female because she looks up the back very stressed. Normally when they're ready, they're going to just go straight to the bubble nest and start to breed. So she's not ready. We're going to be separating them for another day, and we're going to see what happens tomorrow. We've also just done the exact same for the other pair, and not looking too great for these guys either. So we're going to do the exact same. The female's at the back hiding from the males, just not looking too great. So yeah, we gotta separate her out. This is part of the process, but okay, so it's now the following day, and the audio is going to be a little bit different because I'm recording this on my phone to see if I can't get less glare. But we're at our longfin koi male's little bubble nest. Now he's rebuilt this again. I'm thinking today we're going to have a spawn from these guys. If we go over to our blueberry kois, you'll see that there's no bubble nest, and I think that female needs a little bit more fattening up. But yesterday I added a bunch more live blackworms to the bottom of this, so you'll see there's a bunch of little live blackworms in the back corner there, which the female's been grazing on, and she seems to be super keen. So if we can get a look at her, you'll see how fat she is. So you can see down the bottom there's that little breeding tube, and right there you can see it right in the middle of the screen. So that means that she's almost ready to go, and there's also some of those vertical stripes I think going down the back of her. So we should be good to go. So I'm going to release her, and we're going to see. She seems super keen on him, and we'll see if we get some breeding now. Alrighty, so we've just released her, and she seems to be very submissive towards the male. She's taking a lot of interest in the bubble nest, and he seems to be not as aggressive. So we're going to see here. She's probably going to actually start to lay eggs in a moment, but they're currently just rebuilding this little bubble nest the way they want it. The male's working very hard. You can see up the top there. He's trying to make a big effort to make sure she's happy, and that he can spawn with her. It's just super cool to watch this stuff happen. It's absolutely one of my favorite things to do in the aquarium hobby is breed fish. It is so satisfying just watching these little things happen literally inside of a glass fish tank. Okay, so I've sat around for another hour and a half, so you guys better give this video a like, but they've finally started to spawn. So what you can see them doing right now is you can see those eggs falling from the bottom. So what they're actually doing is this weird kind of embrace, and I think the male kind of squeezes the eggs out as he fertilizes them, and he squeezes them out from the female. You can see there she's very submissive right now, and then they'll all fall to the bottom where he'll go and collect them, like you can see what he's doing here. You know, go and paste them up back into that bubble nest. So it's taken him an hour and a half since I've introduced them to finish building that bubble nest and finally get to breeding. But he's done a very good job. Last time they spawned, they did a really good job in getting all the eggs and putting them up in the bubble nest, and he did a great job afterwards as taking care of them as well. So they're going to do this for quite a bit, maybe another hour or so, but she's just going to hopefully drop thousands of eggs. No, not that many. Hopefully she drops over 100 eggs and I'd be pretty happy. But they're going to keep doing this, doing the embrace, collecting the eggs, and putting them up in that nest. So basically after this, what we're going to do is we're going to leave the female in here for maybe 6 to 7 hours. I normally just leave her in there while I go and do something else, and I'll come back at the end of the day and take her out. So it's really important that you add some hiding places, because after this he's just going to see her as a threat and he's going to try and kill her. So you want her to be able to hide for the rest of the day and be able to escape him, because otherwise she's just going to get killed. So we're going to leave them to do this for the next 6 hours-ish. Basically at the end of the day, before I turn the lights off, I'll take her out, or once I've noticed that they've stopped spawning, and then we can just leave the male in here and we'll have our eggs, and then they'll start to hatch and he'll take care of them, and yeah, we'll have some little babies. So we can just watch these guys breed for a little bit longer, but it's really cool. She's also doing a great job as well, putting the eggs up into that nest. There go all the eggs. They're weird looking eggs too. They're like a different shape. They're a white kind of color. Yeah, but they're not the normal type of shaped eggs that we normally see, so he's doing such a good job. So we'll also try and get the blueberry kois to do this as well. I'm obviously not going to go into as much depth, but hopefully I can record them doing the same thing. And yeah, so you can see he's putting them up there in the bubble nest. Good boy. Super interesting. There we go. We're going to go for another breed here. Yes, we are. Let's get some more eggs out. Wow. Okay, I'm going to add something really important here. It is important that if you guys are using like show betters, after they breed, they're pretty much not going to be show betters, because he's going to nip at her fins and ruin them a little bit, and they're never going to grow back the same. So anything you want to breed, make sure you're not going to like keep it as a show better. I'm betting a lot of you guys aren't going to be doing that, but just something important to note. If you've got a really expensive better that you want to enter into a competition or something like that, don't breed it. But yeah, I guess we'll leave these two for the rest of the day, and then I'll come back and see you guys in the afternoon when they're done breeding. So good job, girl. Good job, boy. Doing a really good job. Keep pumping out those eggs, and I'll see you guys in the afternoon. Alrighty, so it's now about 5 hours later or 4 hours later. So you can see up in that nest there's just a ton of eggs, but also if we look up the back though, our female is stressed out and going to be attacked by this male, so she's hiding up the back. So we're going to have to take her out now, but then we can have a quick look at the eggs. Okay, so we just removed the female, and now she's over here in this other tank, and she's just going to be healing. So there's just some skunk kois down the bottom, and she's just going to recover and put on some more weight and enjoy some time in this aquarium and yeah, recover her fins and all that kind of stuff. But our male's in here, and he's going to take care of this bubble nest until these guys hatch within about 48 hours. They normally hatch and they'll be little tiny tails, but that'll be in the next episode. So what he'll do is he'll just monitor this nest, and he's going to keep blowing bubbles underneath it and making this nest bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's going to basically take care of these guys until they're all hatched. But we're going to remove him a little bit early. Once these guys hatch, we'll remove him and they can just sit in here